Barely a day goes by without another report telling us which foods will give us cancer. This week it was red meat because the World Health Organization says it's probably carcinogenic. It considers processed meat even worse, putting it in the same category as alcohol, nicotine, even plutonium as a cancer-causing agent. So, is this a good time to look at our diets again? And if we do, should we also think about where the morals come into eating meat? Is the more ethical approach towards the animal and the environment to bin it all together? Or would that severely damage a British industry which is worth billions? Are you not only healthier but more virtuous if you stop eating sausages, salami and shepherd's pie? And what would that do? Our question this week: is meat a moral issue? Also joining our panel this morning from Bristol is Julia Galatly, who's an animal rights activist and founder of the vegan organisation Viva, and from our studio in Dundee, Dr Carrie Ruxton, who's a dietitian, a health writer and member of the British Meat Advisory Council, which is an industry body. Welcome to the programme, both of you. Is this report more likely to make you change your diet?
Make me personally? No, of course not. I mean, this is what I call sort of, if I may say so, Daily Mail headlines. Because if you go through any copy of the Mail, have a look on right now, and you find every page has something on it which says, this may cure cancer, or sort of playing football could cause cancer, or eating wallabies, you know, or close contact to wallabies may cure cancer or cause it or whatever. And it's just journalism. I really do think it is. I would imagine...
Well, it's the WHO, the World Health Organization. 800 different studies and suggest there might be a relationship between...
Well, you've just said it yourself, haven't you? Might be. And this is the sort of scaremongery type stuff. I'm not saying it's not true to a point, but I might amend it a little more generally and say, you know, being alive causes cancer. That's the biggest risk.
I just want to bring up one of your points that you made there with Dr Carrie Ruxton, who's joining us from Dundee this morning. The advice is that eating more than 50 grams of processed meat, that's 2 rashers of bacon, there might be a relationship with certain bowel cancers. Dr Ruxton, you sit on the board, which is on the Meat Advisory Council, which is funded by the meat industry. What's your response to that?
Yes, I sit on the Meat Advisory Panel. My response is that we currently eat on average 17 grams of processed meat a day, which is well below the 50 grams that WHO highlighted as potentially harmful. Also, overall, WHO said that 200 grams a day of total meat consumption could potentially be harmful, and our average intakes are 71, with very few people eating high amounts. About 1 in 50 women and 1 in 10 men eat more than 140 grams a day. So I would say that at the moment, as we've heard from many people in the panel, people don't eat too much meat in this country.
We need to think of the consequences of everything. It's not just that we, kill 35 billion farm animals and waste most of them every year. It's the waste, it's the consequences for the planet. I can't believe that any death can be kind and cruelty-free.
Carrie, how do you respond to that? That no death can be kind and cruelty-free? Hello, Carrie? Can you still hear us?
Are you coming? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I think that we're omnivores. The dental records, our guts, we've been eating meat for hundreds of thousands of years. And what we have to do is make sure that animal welfare standards are high. And in fact, the UK has the best record in Europe for animal welfare. For example, we brought in the directive on pig welfare 6 years before we had to. And 97% of the population eat meat. They want to know that it's well cared for, that the slaughter is fair and humane. And we can guarantee that that's the case in the UK. We're meeting all the requirements.
All right, thank you for that. I want to bring in our guest, Julie Galatly, who's been waiting patiently. Thank you very much for joining us. And you're from a vegan group. I mean, I just want to raise an economic point as much as anything, actually. English meat alone brings in a net value of £1.67 billion to the British economy. If we stop eating meat, there will be profound effects on farming. Do you acknowledge that?
Also, remember the drug industry, about half its profits come from giving drugs to factory farmed animals. So you've got 2 industries there globally who make an awful lot of money out of death, the death of the animals, and ultimately causing very nasty diseases in us, because it's not just cancers. We know that meat and dairy products cause heart disease, strokes, Alzheimer's. obesity, the chronic diseases which are crippling the National Health Service of the UK.
Yeah.
But
Isn't
just going back
about,
to...
just to qualify that, because it is actually about the amount you consume, isn't it? I mean, just saying sort of dairy gives you terrible diseases, you know, you've got to be quite careful and qualify that sort of statement.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the scientists, Viva quotes from Science Now, milk contains 35 hormones and 11 growth factors because they're milked 7 months into a 9-month pregnancy. And those hormones directly cause and link to things like breast cancer, prostate cancer in men, but also other cancers too. We know that for absolutely sure. The science is all there. But going back to it being guaranteed to be cruelty-free or welfare friendly in the UK, that's a nonsense. Just last weekend, Viva exposed in a national newspaper a farm that had piglets in battery cages stacked one on top of another in metal cages, the mothers in crates where they literally barely can move. This is this was a farm that's supplying Morrison's and is Red Tractor approved. And I think the British public, one of the reasons they're moving away from meat is because we just don't trust these assurances anymore. They're just being blown apart. It's time after time again. Factory farming has not changed. In many ways, it's got worse. What is changing is the British public who are rejecting meat more and more.